Have you ever felt like the standard advice for getting rich is, well, kind of a trap? You know, the whole work hard, save for 40 years, and hope for the best thing. What if there's another way, a path that lets you live rich while you're still young enough to actually enjoy it? So today, we're going to crack open a pretty controversial but really compelling roadmap to wealth that challenges just about everything you've been taught. All right, let's dive in.
You know, this quote right here, it really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. The big idea is that the normal financial path, the one everybody's on, is basically a road to mediocrity. If you want extraordinary results, you have to be willing to step away from normal thinking and normal actions.
So our guide for this whole explainer is MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane. Now this guy is a self-made multimillionaire who cashed out and retired in his 30s. And this book, it's basically his answer to a question he asked a young Lamborghini owner years ago. How in the world can you afford a car like that?
Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to break this all down into 6 parts. First, we'll take apart this whole get-rich-slow idea. Then, we'll look at the 3 financial roadmaps that pretty much define everyone's journey: the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane. We'll dig into each one, and then we'll wrap up with a huge mindset shift about how wealth is really created.
All right, part 1, let's start with the advice we all know, right? The plan that promises you'll be wealthy, but only after most of your life has already passed you by. DeMarco, he calls this the great deception.
And this is where you see the huge disconnect, isn't it? I mean, the dream is to be young, rich, and free, to have the resources to do what you want, when you want. But the advice we get puts that dream on like an impossibly long-term payment plan. It's asking you to trade your youth, your energy, your freedom today for the possibility of freedom maybe 5 decades from now.
And that phrase right there just nails it. A gamble of hope. You're gambling your most valuable asset, your time, on a plan that depends on all these things you can't control, like the stock market behaving for 40 years straight or you never losing your job. And the payoff, if it even comes, arrives when you're too old to fully enjoy it. That's what DeMarco means by wealth in a wheelchair, and it's the destination he's trying to help us steer clear of.
So if that conventional path is a dead end, what are the alternatives? Well, this brings us to the core framework of the book, the idea that every single one of us is on one of 3 financial roadmaps, whether we realize it or not.
This table gives us a fantastic bird's-eye view. You've got the sidewalk, which is all about instant gratification. Its wealth equation is just income plus debt, and it leads straight to being broke. Then there's the slow lane. That's the normal path we just talked about. It's focused on security, trading your time for money, and it ends in mediocrity. And then you have the fast lane. It's all about building systems for freedom and wealth. Just look at the different wealth equations and how they each see time. This is like the underlying physics for each path. Let's break them down.
So first up, we've got the road most traveled, the sidewalk. This is the path of having no plan at all. It's driven by this relentless need for pleasure and image today, no matter what it costs you tomorrow.
Now, it's really easy to picture someone with a low income here, but here's the kicker. The sidewalk is money blind. You could be earning $2 million a year and still be a total sidewalker. Think about the pro athlete or the movie star who makes a fortune and is bankrupt 3 years later. Why? Because their plan is to have no plan. Money comes in and it goes right back out on cars, clothes, parties, you name it.
And this slide just perfectly shows the trap. DeMarco calls it lifestyle servitude. It's this vicious cycle. You work to make money. That money immediately goes to funding a lifestyle and taking on debt for stuff. That lifestyle and all that debt then force you to keep working, a lot of times in a job you can't stand. And the cycle just repeats. It's a loop where your stuff ends up owning you.
And if you think this is some fringe problem, think again. This number is just staggering. And this was before the huge financial crisis in 2008. A majority of people under 55 had literally nothing to show for all their work except for debt. This is where the sidewalk inevitably leads, living right on the edge, just one bad break away from total financial disaster.
Okay, so if that's the sidewalk, let's move on to what seems like the responsible choice, the slow lane. This is the master plan that our parents, our teachers, and all those financial gurus have been selling us for generations.
Seriously, as we go through this next part, I want you to really think about it. Does this sound like the financial advice you've been hearing your entire life?
Yep, there it is, the gospel of financial responsibility. Go to college, get a good job, save a little bit, invest in the market, live super frugally, stay away from debt. And look,
On the surface, it sounds totally sensible. It's for sure better than the sidewalk. But DeMarco argues this is just a different kind of prison.
Because this is the grand prize. After 40 or 50 years of sacrificing your time, your dreams, your youth, you might get to be the richest person in the retirement home. The huge fundamental flaw of the slow lane is that you're trading your most valuable asset, your time, for dollars. And the exchange rate is just terrible. You're giving away your controllable, youthful time for a shot at market-dependent wealth when you're old.
So if this sidewalk leads to being poor and the slow lane leads to mediocrity, what's left? Well, this brings us to the absolute heart of the book, the fast lane. And let me be clear, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a complete shift in your financial universe, from being a consumer to becoming a producer.
This comparison just lays it all out crystal clear. A slow laner has a job. They trade their time for money. Their income is capped by the hours in a day and whatever their boss decides to pay them. A fast laner, on the other hand, builds a business, a system that works for them. This completely divorces their wealth from their time. Your income isn't limited by your personal effort anymore. It's limited by the scale of your system. You stop working in a system and you start building one.
So what does that actually look like? Well, the fast lane isn't just about starting a business. It's a really specific path guided by an acronym DeMarco calls CENTS. First, C is for control. You got to be in the driver's seat of your business. E is for entry. The business should be hard to get into. If anyone can copy it in an afternoon, your profits will disappear. N is for need. This is huge. You have to solve a real problem for people. Stop chasing your passion and start chasing things that help people. And T is for time. The system has to be able to make money even when you're not working. And finally, S is for scale. Your business has to be able to grow big, to reach millions. A hot dog stand has low scale. A software app has high scale. These 5 commandments are the foundation of a real fast lane business.
And DeMarco's own life is a perfect example of this. It was not an easy ride. I mean, he spent years failing, working awful jobs. He even fell into depression. But then he had this key moment, a wake-up call, and he moved to Phoenix to focus on his web business. And if you look at it through that CENTS filter, it all clicks. He was in control. He solved a real need for limo companies. The website could run without him, which satisfied time. And because it was online, it had massive scale. He built what he calls a money tree that made income 24/7. And by 33, he was a multimillionaire because he built a system that worked.
And that brings us to maybe the biggest, most important lesson of the whole thing. We see these huge paydays, these multi-million-dollar exits, and we think it's all about luck or some secret event. But the reality is completely different.
Man, just let that sink in for a second. The world loves to glorify the event, the big sale, the IPO, winning the lottery. But wealth isn't an event. It's the end result of a long, hard, and usually invisible process. The process, that's where the real work happens. That's where value is actually created.
And this is how it reframes the whole idea of success, right? We see the event, that huge contract, the massive payday, and we call it overnight success. But it's not. The event is just the harvest from seeds that were planted years ago during the process. The years of practice, the failures, the long nights coding in a garage, the constant tweaking of a business, that is the process that forges millionaires. You simply cannot have the event without first going through the process.
So as we wrap this up, the real question isn't about MJ DeMarco or his book. It's about you. I want you to take an honest look at your financial life, your beliefs about money, what you do every day. Are you on the sidewalk, just living for today? Are you on the slow lane, sacrificing your entire life for a future that isn't even guaranteed? Or are you willing to endure the process to build your own fast lane? The choice of roadmap is yours, and so is the destination.